A group of tomb raiders were cutting down rosewood trees worth hundreds of millions. A lookout stationed at the mountaintop spotted approaching police cars and immediately blew his whistle. Deep in the mountains, the tomb raiders heard the signal and hurriedly abandoned their valuable rosewood, fleeing the scene. But one of the raiders, named Pushpa, called them back. He said, "It's such a waste to just leave behind the rosewood we've worked so hard to cut. I have a way to distract the police and keep them from finding it." Pushpa had been an illegitimate child since birth. His father, a wealthy landlord, had him after a night of drinking, and both he and his mother were constantly ridiculed by his half-brothers. When his father died, neither he nor his mother was even allowed to attend the funeral. Soon, the police arrived in the mountains. Leading them was a sheriff known for cracking down on tomb raiders who illegally took state-owned rosewood. He despised the raiders, and his fierce methods had made many of them tremble in fear. When the sheriff confronted this group of tomb raiders, he found no trace of the rosewood, only a bunch of grown men casually chatting. They claimed they were there to tend sheep. Nearby, Pushpa was sharpening his axe. When the police asked what he was doing, Pushpa replied, "They're here to tend sheep, but I'm here to hunt tigers." Pushpa's words drew laughter from the raiders. Hearing his mocking tone, the sheriff flew into a rage and immediately pulled out his gun, aiming it at Pushpa's head. This provoked the raiders. They grabbed their axes and stood behind Pushpa, ready to attack if the sheriff made a move. Any aggressive action from the police could have turned deadly.
Вокруг меня 60 топоров. Нас побольше будет.
Seeing they were outnumbered, the sheriff's subordinates urged him to reconsider. Though furious, he had no choice but to restrain himself. What the police didn't know was that dozens of rosewood logs were suspended high above them. Once the sheriff and his team left, Pushpa swung his axe, and the millennia-old rosewood worth hundreds of millions came crashing down. Thanks to his cleverness, Pushpa transformed from an ordinary, obscure tomb raider into a powerful figure destined to rise as a legendary underworld hero. The tomb raiders cut a tanker truck in half, loaded hundreds of billions worth of rosewood into the bottom, sealed it with steel plates, and then filled it with milk. When they reached a police checkpoint, Pushpa claimed he had turned over a new leaf and was now just running a milk business. The police inspected the truck and indeed found only milk, so they had no choice but to let it pass. Just like that, a full truckload of rosewood was successfully transported. Charlie was thrilled and immediately offered Pushpa $500,000 for each truck smuggled. But Pushpa said he only wanted a 4% cut of the profits, which amounted to $400,000. Hearing $400,000, Charlie immediately agreed. One of the henchmen was confused. He asked Pushpa, "If you could make $500,000, why settle for $400,000? Pushpa explained, "If we take $500,000, we're just employees. But if we take 4% of the profits, we become partners." Though Pushpa didn't look particularly impressive, he was extremely sharp. Every day, he came up with new tricks to move truck after truck of rosewood down the mountain. The police chief felt something was off but couldn't find evidence, until one day they stopped a milk tanker. The chief inspected it personally, tapping the top and then the bottom, and noticed a clear difference in sound. The driver panicked and tried to flee, but was pinned down by the police. Before any harsh interrogation was needed, he spilled everything. Meanwhile, dozens of trucks of rosewood were being transported to the Lay family's warehouse. The person in charge was the head of the smuggling ring, through whom Charlie and his brother's goods were sold worldwide. But recently, he had drawn police attention and had to temporarily store the goods at Charlie's place. However, the good times didn't last. One day, Pushpa received a call from Charlie. The police had discovered the warehouse location. He told Pushpa to quickly figure out how to move the rosewood. But the police were already on their way, making it impossible to relocate the wood in time. Looking at the mountain of rosewood, Pushpa instantly came up with a plan. He handed a sum of cash to a henchman and ordered him to head down the mountain. Then Pushpa grabbed an axe and chopped through the ropes, sending the rosewood tumbling into the river. The police were about to arrive, but one piece had accidentally been left behind underground. These precious rosewoods were worth billions, yet the smugglers tossed them into the raging river because a large squad of police was about to arrive. To avoid being caught, they used their cars to push every single piece of rosewood into the river. Soon, hundreds, even thousands, of rosewood logs tumbled into the current and were carried downstream by the waterfall. By the time the police arrived, they stormed the warehouse and conducted a thorough carpet-style search, but they didn't find even a trace of a single piece of rosewood. Meanwhile, one of the smugglers' henchmen sped down the mountain on a motorcycle to the dam at the base. He bribed the dam workers with a bag of cash and then rushed to the sluice gate, quickly shutting the valves to intercept all the rosewood. It turned out that Pushpa had learned the police were coming, so he handed a stack of cash to his henchmen to intercept the shipment downhill. Their quick action saved the smuggling syndicate hundreds of billions in losses. The police, left empty-handed on the mountain, were furious. They knew illegal rosewood smuggling was happening, but couldn't find a single piece of evidence. Pushpa's exceptional performance earned him the admiration of the smuggling kingpin Charlie, who invited him to an internal gathering of the syndicate. After a lively round of dancing, time, Pushpa accidentally overheard shocking news. Charlie was selling the rosewood abroad for $5,000 million per 1,000 tons, yet the syndicate was only receiving $2 million. Pushpa immediately went to Robert to tell him what he had learned. Unexpectedly, Robert already knew that Charlie was pocketing massive profits, but there was nothing they could do. Charlie had powerful political backers, and only through him could the rosewood be sold smoothly. Moreover, besides Charlie, they couldn't find any other buyers. Robert told Pushpa, "If you can't swallow this, you can go negotiate the price with Charlie. After all, you're a partner too. If you succeed, we'll split the profits 50-50. The next day, Pushpa went to Charlie's house. He happened to arrive while Charlie was busy scolding a buyer who tried to raise the price. At that moment, Charlie received a call from a politician. Someone had asked for a favor to get this person released, but Charlie simply said the person was already dead.